The parking lot of the Rusty Nail Tavern sat quiet under the yellow glow of a single streetlight, puddles from the afternoon rain reflecting the neon beer signs in the windows. Sarah Martinez fumbled with her phone, squinting at the rideshare app that had just canceled on her for the third time. 11:30 on a Tuesday night, and apparently every driver in Portland had evaporated. She glanced at the row of motorcycles lined up near the entrance. Chrome gleaming, leather saddlebags. That unmistakable rumble she'd heard when their owners arrived hours ago. Sarah had been inside celebrating her sister's bachelorette party, nursing 2 beers over 4 hours while her sister and friends got progressively louder. She was the designated driver, except she'd taken an Uber here, and now that plan had fallen apart spectacularly. Her phone buzzed. A text from Megan. "Where are you? We're heading to karaoke." Sarah sighed, typed back that she was stuck, then noticed something odd. At the far end of the lot, partially hidden behind a dumpster, sat a motorcycle that looked almost identical to the ones by the entrance, but with a key dangling from the ignition. She walked closer. It was beautiful. A Harley-Davidson Softail, deep blue with silver accents, the seat worn but well-maintained. A helmet hung from the handlebar. Sarah had ridden motorcycles before. Her ex-boyfriend had taught her during their brief, ill-advised romance 2 years ago. She'd been pretty good at it, actually. The rational part of her brain fired a warning shot. This is someone's bike. Don't even think about it. But the key was in the ignition, and her apartment was only 15 minutes away. And whoever owned this had clearly forgotten it here. Maybe they'd gotten a ride with someone else. Maybe they were inside, drunk, and she'd actually be doing them a favor by keeping it safe? The mental gymnastics were impressive, even to her. Sarah checked the time. 11:47 p.m. She could have it back here by 12:15, easy. She'd leave a note with her number. It was basically borrowing, not stealing. Before she could talk herself out of it, she swung her leg over the seat, turned the key, and felt the engine roar to life beneath her. The vibration traveled up through her body, and for a moment, she grinned. God, she'd missed this feeling. She pulled on the helmet, kicked up the stand, and rolled out of the parking lot. The ride home felt like freedom, wind whipping past, the city lights blurring into streams of color, the powerful machine responding to her every lean and shift. Sarah almost forgot she was on borrowed, stolen time. She was 2 blocks from her apartment when she saw them in her mirrors. 2 headlights, then 4, then 6. All motorcycles, all gaining on her. Her heart dropped into her stomach. The bikes pulled alongside her at the next red light, boxing her in. Large men in leather vests, faces hard as granite. The one directly to her left leaned over, and she caught sight of the patch on his back. A winged skull above the words, "Hell's Angels MC." "Pull over," he said. It wasn't a request. Sarah's hands were shaking so badly she could barely grip the handlebars. She nodded, unable to speak, and followed as they guided her into an empty parking lot of a closed auto shop. She killed the engine and sat frozen as 8 motorcycles formed a semicircle around her. 8 men dismounted, all wearing the same vest, all looking at her with expressions ranging from fury to disbelief. The one who'd spoken before, tall, maybe 50, with a gray beard and eyes that had seen things Sarah couldn't imagine, stepped forward. "You want to tell me," he said slowly, "why you're riding my brother's bike?" Sarah yanked off the helmet, words tumbling out in a panicked rush. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought the key was in it, and I couldn't get a ride, and I was going to bring it right back. I swear to God I was going to leave a note with my number. I'm not a thief. I've never stolen anything in my life. Please don't kill me." "Breathe," said a younger man to the right, maybe 30, with kind eyes that seemed out of place in this situation. Sarah sucked in air, realized she'd been on the verge of hyperventilating. The gray-bearded man, the president she assumed, studied her for a long moment. Then he looked at the younger man. "Tommy, this the bike?" Tommy walked around the Harley, checking something on the engine. "Yeah, it's Dash's." "Where's Dash?" "Hospital," another man called out. "Appendix thing." His old lady drove him in this afternoon. He must have left his spare bike here last week after the poker run. The president turned back to Sarah. So let me get this straight. You found an unlocked motorcycle with the key in it, and you just took it? I'm a really terrible person, Sarah whispered. I don't know what I was thinking. Someone in the group laughed. Actually laughed. Sarah's head snapped up. Girls got guts, said a stocky man with a bandana. Dumb as hell, but guts. I'll pay for anything, Sarah said desperately. Gas, wear and tear, emotional damages, whatever you want. I have about $600 in savings. The president held up a hand, silencing her. He looked at his brothers, some unspoken communication passing between them. Then he shocked her by smiling, just a little but definitely a smile. Here's what's gonna happen, he said. You're gonna give me your license, your phone number, and your address. Tommy here is gonna follow you home on this bike to make sure you get there safe. Because a woman riding alone at midnight in this city? That's asking for trouble. Sarah blinked. What? Then tomorrow you're gonna come down to Dash's shop? I'll text you the address, and you're gonna apologize to him in person. You're also gonna bring coffee and donuts for the guys. Good donuts, not grocery store crap. I can do that, Sarah stammered. And the president continued, his expression growing more serious. You're gonna promise me right now that you will never do something this stupid again. You need a ride, you call someone. You don't have anyone to call. You call us. He pulled out a business card, actual business card, and handed it to her. We run a charity for at-risk youth, and part of that is making sure people get home safe. You understand. Sarah looked at the card, then at the circle of bikers around her. These men who probably should have called the cops or worse. Instead, they were helping her. Why are you being nice to me? She asked, voice small. The president's expression softened. Because my daughter's about your age. And because you got scared and made a bad choice, but you were honest about it. That counts for something. He paused. Also, you handle that bike pretty damn well for someone who claims they're not a rider. Where'd you learn? My ex-boyfriend. We used to go up the coast. Yeah? Well, you ever want to ride proper with people who aren't gonna leave their keys in the ignition like morons, you let us know. We got a women's riding group meets every Sunday. The next day, Sarah showed up at Dash's custom motorcycle shop with 3 boxes of artisan donuts and a case of expensive coffee. Dash, a wiry man with a shaved head and a surgical bandage visible under his shirt, laughed so hard when she told the story that he had to sit down. You thought it was abandoned? He wheezed. Behind a dumpster at the Nail? That's literally where I always park it. I'm an idiot, Sarah said for the 15th time. Nah, Dash said, accepting a maple bacon donut. You're just someone who panicked. We've all been there. He pointed at the president, who was leaning against a workbench. Tank here once accidentally stole a cop car. True story. Tank, which Sarah now understood was the president's road name, rolled his eyes but didn't deny it. Over coffee and donuts, Sarah learned that the Hells Angels weren't just a motorcycle club but a tight-knit community. They ran toy drives for children's hospitals, organized charity rides for veterans, and yes, operated a safeguard program for people who needed help getting home safely. People see the patches and make assumptions, Tank explained. Sometimes that's useful. Sometimes it means someone like you is terrified for no good reason. I stole a motorcycle, Sarah pointed out. Borrowed, Tommy corrected with a grin, and brought it back with a full tank. 3 months later, Sarah rolled into the parking lot of the Rusty Nail on her own bike, a restored Honda Shadow that Dash had sold her at cost and taught her to maintain. She wore a leather jacket, though not a club vest. She'd never joined the Hells Angels. They didn't recruit, and it wasn't her world anyway. But she'd become friends with the women's riding group, had helped at 2 charity events, and had learned more about motorcycles, loyalty, and second chances than she'd ever expected. As she killed the engine, Tank pulled up beside her on his massive Road King. Never thought I'd see you back here voluntarily, he said. Sarah grinned. Yeah, well, Someone once told me that when you mess up, you own it and do better. Figured I'd buy a round for the guys who taught me that. Tank nodded approvingly. Your money's no good here, kid. But the company is. Inside the Rusty Nail, Sarah found herself surrounded by patches and leather, sharing stories and laughter with people who'd once been her worst nightmare. And when she left that night, legally on her own motorcycle with a wave to friends, she couldn't help but think about how one spectacularly bad decision had somehow led her to exactly where she needed to be. The key, she'd learned, was what you did after you screwed up. That, and never, ever taking a bike that wasn't yours. Even if the keys were in it. Oh, that's the story of how stealing a Hells Angels motorcycle led to friendship instead of disaster. If you want more unbelievable true stories like this one, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment and tell me, have you ever made a split-second decision that completely changed your life? I'll see you in the next one.